it has to be designed correctly. You know, a poorly designed experiment isn't going to give you good information at the end. So we're just going to talk a little bit here. First, I do have some definitions for you. I'll let you write them and then I will talk about them. All right, so an experiment, we've already kind of talked about that, but it's just a controlled study. The purpose of it, you only want to manipulate one variable at a time, or you want to be aware of everything you're manipulating. So we want to control everything that we aren't trying to study so that it doesn't affect our response. Experimental unit is just the subject, it's the person or object or whatever that you are applying this treatment to. So if I wanted to see if you guys learned better by reading out of the textbook instead of me teaching, then maybe I might design an experiment where I took half the class and I just handed you the textbook and told you the pages and sent you to the library to read, and the other half I kept in here. So it's an experiment. I'm controlling the factors like how you get the information. My response I'm looking at is how well you do in our test at the end of it. Then each of you would be an experimental subject. The control group is like our baseline, so in that case I'm trying to see if the textbook is better, so my baseline might be our normal class, those of you that get to stay in the normal class. They're what we're measuring against. Then the treatment group would be the ones going to the library and reading out of the book. Placebo, you usually hear that term in like medical studies if they're trying out a new medication. A lot of times they have a group where they would give a placebo, which just like a sugar tablet, something that really has no effect. Why would they do that? What's the purpose of that?
I don't know. See if anyone's lying.
See if anyone's lying. Might be part of it. Also, there's like a mental component to a lot of things. They want to see, is it really the medication that's making you better, or is it just because you think you're getting treatment and that mental component is making you better? So a lot of times you might hear that term. Placebo is just something that looks like the other medication but isn't really a true medication. A couple other things in those cases where you're doing like a placebo, you could have a single blind or a double blind. Obviously, if you are being given a placebo and you're told this isn't really this isn't the medicine, this is just a sugar pill, are you going to think it's making you better? No. So they aren't going to tell you that that's what you're getting. And that's a single blind. The doctor may know, but you don't. Double blind, neither one knows. The researcher doesn't know, and the subject doesn't know which treatment they're getting.
Well, that's weird because somebody's got to know.
Somebody has to know. There would have to be an outside party. Why wouldn't they want the researcher to know? Okay, maybe to help, like, make sure they're learning from the research only. Also, maybe like, we're human, right? People make mistakes. Could I possibly treat you differently if I knew you were getting the real medication versus not? Sure. So if they want to eliminate that and make sure everyone is treated the same, then they may not tell the researcher. There may be a third party that determines what you get and nobody knows which one they're receiving. Look at an example. We're tired of writing definitions. Let's go to our examples page. All right, the English department of a community college is considering adopting an online version to the freshman English course. To compare the new online course to the traditional course, a faculty member randomly splits a section of her course. Half the students receive the traditional, the other half is given an online version. At the end of the semester, both groups will be given a test to determine which performed better. So who are the experimental units? All students? Okay, all English students on that campus? Freshman English students in every
Whoever's in the
class?
class.
Okay,
Freshman
the
English
students in her class specifically, in the one class that's getting split. what's the population for which we would care about? So my sample is those experimental units, so students actually in the course that's being split. What's the population we would be concerned with?
Both halves of the class.
Okay, is it just that class that we probably covered? The freshmen.
Students in English.
The freshman English students. Because even though only one professor is doing this, there's probably multiple professors, and if it works, they would apply it to all of their students. Okay, the treatments. Treatments are like whatever we are manipulating. Kind of, what's the treatment that we're doing in this? Mhm. What is the response that we are looking at? Mhm. Why can't this experiment be conducted with blinding? Yeah, teacher needs to know which group you're a part of. Also, is it possible for you to be in class and not know if you're going to class or doing it online? No, you obviously as a student will know which way you're doing it, and the teacher has to know, are you coming to class or are you doing it online? Any questions there? We're going to write down one more definition, and then actually the rest of the definitions on this page we aren't going to cover. So the last one that we really need to worry about is matched pairs. So a matched pair design is when somehow we take related things and pair them up. Why do you need to? You're learning.
Just checking.
All right, a pharmaceutical company wants to test the effectiveness of a new drug for lowering blood pressure. They recruit 200 adult participants with high blood pressure and randomly assign them to two groups of 100 each. The experimental group receives the new drug while the control group receives a placebo pill. After 8 weeks, the participants' blood pressure levels are measured and compared to determine whether the new drug is effective. So A, what is the research objective? What are we trying to find out in this situation?
The new drug is effective. It'd be wrong if we just put the new drug is effective.
That's fine. What is the explanatory variable here? The thing we control.
Who gets it and who's the placebo?
Okay, so the variable is the medication they receive, whether it's the real one or the placebo. What response are we measuring?
The blood pressure.
What's the control group? That's our baseline group. The placebo is not changing their blood pressure. Is this single blind or double blind? It didn't specifically say that the researcher doesn't know, so I'm going to assume the company knows which drug they're getting, but the people don't. Do you think they said, here, this isn't really a blood pressure medication, but see if it makes it better? No, they didn't tell them, so it was a single blind here.
That would want to be the people on the new blood pressure. Getting blood pressure kind of
Not really something you want to mess around with. Yeah.
or use the control group as the old one.
Maybe their blood pressure is threatening their life because it's too high or too low.
No, that's.
But you're receiving a fake medication instead of the actual blood pressure medication you receive.
Yeah.
It's a little dangerous.
Or even
Yeah, that
the new
is
one
true.
would still be better than.
Unless it has some horrible side effect they didn't know about.
I guess they should be well compensated.
Yeah, that's why they usually pay you to take those medications.
No, let's be talking about that.
Is that how you're gonna fund your college education? Alright. Xylitol has proven effective in preventing dental cavities when included in food or gum. A total of 75 Peruvian children were given milk with and without xylitol and were asked to evaluate the taste of each. The researchers measured the children's ratings of the two types of milk. What is the response that we're looking at? Okay, so the factors in the study, that's like the things we manipulate, okay, the explanatory variables. What are some of those variables that we're controlling?
Who gets what?
No. Or without xylitol. Is that the one that we are manipulating? Yeah, that's the one we're manipulating. Other factors that we need to consider, what could that be? Diet. So, yep. Diet, toothbrushing. Okay, would those be things that would contribute to our answer? Potentially. Can we control for all of those, or are we controlling for those? No. So we are controlling just which kind of milk they get, but there's a lot of other things that would be at play here. The treatments, that is the two types of milk. So there are two treatments, with or without. What type of experimental design is this? Now, what's happening here? Those kids got both milk with and without. What that's saying is, one child got 2 cups of milk, and then they're comparing the flavors of those 2 cups. So those are connected, right? That makes this a matched pairs situation because I am going to compare how you rated both cups of milk. Who would be the experimental units? In this case, we had the 75 that we actually studied. would it be a good idea to randomly assign whether the child drinks the milk with xylitol first or second? So instead of every child coming up, getting a glass of regular milk and then getting a glass of milk with xylitol, why would I want to mix them up? Some people get the regular milk first, some people get it second.
No, and there's no bias, just because the kid thinks he's eating a chemical, so a lot of people probably do that.
Okay, so they really truly don't know which one. Could it be that maybe it's a really hot day and they come up and get a glass of ice cold milk? Is that first glass probably going to taste better than the second glass? Yeah. Does that have anything to do with what's in it? No, it's because you're really hot and a cold drink tastes good. Maybe they don't like milk, and so you're drinking one glass of milk and you chug that down. The next one, do you really want to drink another one? No. So it's so that any results we get are truly due to the presence of the xylitol and not just the order in which you did it. Does that make sense? We don't want the result to be because of the order. We want it to be because of the flavor of the milk itself. All right, last question. Do you think it would be a good idea to double blind this experiment? So that maybe I'm standing in the back filling the cups of milk and I know which is which, but then I hand it to Anna, she doesn't know which is which, and then she hands them to the child. Would that be beneficial? Maybe, maybe not. What if Anna's a researcher that's really trying to push xylitol, okay, and she knows that xylitol is in this cup? Could she be like, okay, drink this cup of milk. Hey, alright, this one tastes really good. Could she say something that might lead the kid to be more likely to be like, oh, I like that cup better? Yes. So it kind of depends on the researcher's stake in it. Do they have a reason to really want the kid to like that cup? But it could be a good idea just so that the researcher themselves doesn't influence the answer, that it's really due to how the kid feels.
It's a Peruvian, like some sort of like stage, like a toddler.
From Peru.
It's a good question.
There's no V in Peruvian, Peru.
Yes, Peruvian is like a stage.
Peru.
Vian.
It's
It's like a
like we're America.
It's a good question, Sully. I was all.
Never mind.
AN is a normally used.
I mean,
You're a lot
it is
today.
not like America and American. We're always
Okay, that was
adding
American.
it.
Well, and there's lots of words you add A. in.
All right, let's go on.
All right, so I have a handout for you.
Ooh.
Tomorrow we have a quiz. Oh, chapter 1 quiz that Abram's gonna take before class tomorrow. You can take it in. Oh, we
Take
won't
it
have
second. I could take it, not second round. First hour.
That's fine. It's my plan period. So topics on your quiz. Would you guys like to know?
Yeah.
It's going to be really, really hard. You know, all of our questions that we've had have been like one-word answers. That's what you should expect on this. So the first question, there might be like A, B, C. I'm going to ask, is it qualitative or quantitative? And I will give you the word choices, okay? If it's quantitative, I'm probably going to say, is it discrete or continuous? Remember, qualitative is non-numerical. Quantitative is dealing with a number. The only exception, sometimes numbers don't really have a numerical meaning, like your social security number. It's just to identify you. That's qualitative still. Do you guys know the difference between discrete and continuous?
Discrete style,
Mhm.
continuous is like a decimal.
Yes. Alright, then I'm going to ask you about nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. Okay, so you have to identify which is which. Remember, nominal and ordinal are when you have qualitative data. Interval ratio is quantitative. Big difference, everything's automatically nominal. If you can put it in order, then it's ordinal. If it's numerical, we're either dealing with interval or ratio. If it has 0, that's ratio. Otherwise it's interval. We're going to talk about, I'll have a parameter versus statistic. What's the difference? Parameter comes from a population, statistic comes from a, okay, we'll have observational study versus a designed experiment. The observational study, you're just watching. The experiment, you're doing things. And then we'll have our different sampling methods, so like simple random, so simple random is like giving everybody a number, picking a number. Stratified, you break them into groups and take a few from each group. Cluster, break them into groups and take an entire group. What's systematic? The case value, yep. And convenience? What's a convenient sample? What's easy? Okay, so far, doing okay with this? The next question, I'm going to ask you about bias. So, sampling, response, non-response bias. So sampling just means you have a bad sample to begin with. Response, people answer you, but their answer isn't truthful. Non-response, they don't answer at all. And then the last one will be like what you're doing on homework today. So I might ask you questions about an experiment, like we just did on the last couple questions. So 7 questions on this quiz.